Room 13 presents a story that begins on a crisp autumn evening when the leaves shifted in soft whispers outside the window of an old manor. The building had stood on the outskirts of the small town of Greystone for over a century, its history cloaked in mystery and superstition. After a peculiar series of events led everybody who stayed in Room 13 to either disappear or flee in terror, the manor was sealed off, soon earning the nickname the House of the Forgotten. It was there that Greg Whitman found himself, a young architect drawn to historical renovations. He had been contacted by an anonymous client who offered an irresistible amount of money to restore the manor. Greg, unaware of its dark past, eagerly accepted the challenge, excited for the blend of opportunity and adventure. Greg arrived at the manor late one afternoon. The sky was a deep shade of indigo, streaked with purples and oranges from the setting sun. An eerie echo seemed to greet him as he clambered up the time-worn stone steps, pushing the heavy oak door open with a groan that reverberated through the empty halls. The air inside was thick with the scent of dust and something else, something metallic and cold. He brushed off the chill that skittered down his spine and set about his work, inspecting the suffocating grandeur of the manor's affluent past. Rooms brimmed with forgotten furniture, shrouded in white sheets, phantoms of a once lively past. Time seemed stagnant here, every shadow promising secrets that dared not be uncovered. Days passed, with Greg diligently making notes and sketches of the place. He was especially drawn to the ominous allure of Room 13, which he discovered after several searches hidden behind a false wall. It was small, yet overwhelmingly oppressive, the wooden floorboards beneath him protesting with creaks that felt almost sentient. Soon after, things began to change. The first night he spent mapping out Room 13 ended abruptly when he was stirred from his focus by a faint whisper, "Leave." It was a mere breath against his neck, cool and vanishing as he turned frantically, finding only shadows shifting in the corners. Greg chuckled nervously, shaking off the sensation. "Just the wind," he assured himself, choosing to stay despite a gnawing discomfort in his chest. As days turned into weeks, the manor's unsettling grip on Greg tightened. He started noticing things he couldn't explain. Unreadable words etched small and faint under layers of paint in the halls, reflections in mirrors that distorted the truth. Most haunting were the footsteps that patrolled the halls at night, stopping just outside his door like a threat, silent contemplation before retreating. His dreams grew vivid and suffused with bleak landscapes, sprawling forests sick with decay, rivers that ran black, twisted faces whispering in languages unknown. He woke up each time soaked in sweat, but with an odd craving to return to Room 13. Determined to uncover the truth, Greg spent hours in the local library, delving into the past of Greystone's notorious manor. As he pored over newspapers and brittle letters, a particularly chilling tale emerged. Room 13 was once used to house a young woman suspected of witchcraft, a scapegoat for villagers during a particularly harsh winter. Accused of casting curses, she was confined until she vanished, supposedly without a trace, although folklore claimed she had melded with the walls to haunt the mansion. Despite his rational mind dismissing these tales as superstition, Greg felt a connection to her, an empathy he could not shake. Either through the exhaustion of late nights or the whisper of unseen forces, he perceived glimmers of her story in dreams. To call them coincidences seemed naive. Determined to unveil the truth, he returned to Room 13 over and over, drawn by a force that both terrified and thrilled him. One night, as a storm beat against the windows and the manor moaned like a living beast, Greg dared to delve deeper. Ahead of him, the floorboards groaned louder, and the temperature dropped to an icy chill. He reached out to touch the wall, smoothing his hand over the faded wallpaper. At first, his skin tingled, but then he felt a sharp pain. Pulling his hand back, he saw thin red lines etched into his palm. Words? He fumbled for a light, illuminating his hand to reveal the phrase, "Live and linger." The room felt alive, the air vibrating around him. And in that charged silence, Greg heard a whispered voice, not outwardly, but deep within. "Release me." It was the young woman, trapped within every wall and floorboard. Her presence was rife in the estate's fabric, yet her essence was shackled by remnants of fear and hatred. Determined to set the spirit free, Greg began working against the clock, dismantling bits of wall, peeling back layers of time until he discovered a rusted metal box sealed within the beams. It took all of his strength to pry it open. Inside was a locket with an engraved E on its worn surface, rough-hewn but beautiful, with a portrait of a young woman inside. Her eyes sparkled, peering straight into his soul. Just behind the picture were notes, scratches of desperate writing. Suddenly, an overwhelming sense of presence filled the air, the manor's very foundation seeming to sigh and shift. Then, silence more profound than darkness enveloped him. As he clutched the locket, clarity poured in. A vision of the past, a life snuffed too soon. The manor exhaled a long-held breath, the shadows pulling away as time sped forward, shaking the cobwebs of history free. The cold air warmed, the oppressive feel softened, as if the house itself was finally at peace. Greg noted how the atmosphere transformed, and as he left room 13 for the last time, he could swear he heard a soft, almost grateful whisper follow him down the hall. "Thank you." Eager to leave the past behind, Greg completed the manor's renovation, ensuring that it retained its character, yet stood free of its haunted chains. As he left Greystone behind, Greg carried the locket with him, a reminder of a connection beyond explanation, a link to a story where whispers of the past met the ear of the present. Night.